Let's work out the question number 80, which is related to the trigonal bipyramidal geometry, and how many d orbitals that remain non-bonding we have to choose. In every option there is a set of d orbitals that has been given. An important point to be remembered is, in this case only sigma bonding has to be considered. So it's a sigma bond consideration. This is an understanding question which requires a little workout. The student can directly remember the d orbitals that are involved in the bonding, non-bonding or anti-bonding related to every geometry, but it is a tedious process. So it is always better to know the standard procedure, how to work out the orbitals that remain non-bonding or either participate in bonding. Trigonal bipyramidal geometry belong to D3H point group. So here I am providing a character table, and how is the sigma bond d orbital participation related to character table? Let us understand. The D3H character table, it has 12 symmetry elements starting from E up to sigma V. Now the approach is, when I look at the diagram, this is the geometry where we can find 5 sigma bonds, sigma bond 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So whatever symmetry elements that the trigonal bipyramidal geometry has, we have to operate each symmetry element onto the 5 sigma bonds that are present in the geometry. So just let us make it as a table. What I am trying to get is a reducible representation. This is a D3H point group, and the symmetry elements that have been previously shown where E is present, 2 C3s are present, 3 C2, 1 sigma H, 2 S3 and 3 sigma V. Every time we have to operate each of these symmetry elements onto the sigma bonds, and we have to check how many sigma bonds are unshifted after a particular symmetry element operation that we carry out. When identity operation is carried out, all the 5 bonds remain there. It is a doing nothing operation. So when we are trying to find out the gamma sigma, which is the reducible representation, the character under identity element would become 5, because all the 5 sigma bonds will be unshifted. Then when we are proceeding towards C3, when we operate a C3, sigma 1 and sigma 5 do not shift, whereas the equatorial bonds will shift. So the number of bonds unshifted upon C3 operation would become 2. The character under C3 is 2. There are 3 C2s, and each C2 would pass from one of the equatorial ligands, and every time one C2 is passing from one of the equatorial ligands which will be unshifted, therefore the character under C2 will become 1. Sigma H will pass through the equatorial bonds. There are 3 equatorial bonds which will be unshifted, therefore the character under horizontal plane would be 3. S3 is collinear to C3, and wherever the C3 is passing, S3 would also pass. The S3 is a combination element where C3 will shift L2, L3 and L4, and a perpendicular sigma H would also shift L1 and L5. So after S3 operation, no bond would remain unshifted, all the bonds are shifted, therefore the character under S3 would become 0. And every sigma V, it will take up the axial ligands and one of the equatorial ligands which will be unshifted, therefore the character under sigma V will become 3. So this becomes the reducible representation. Once the reducible representation is in hand, the next thing that we have to do is to reduce it by using a standard reduction formula. We have to use the standard reduction formula, right? So all these things are done in the regular classes, so I'm not going to discuss. By using the standard reduction formula and by using the character table for D3H point group, the representation that we get is two A1 prime plus A2 double prime plus E prime. So this is the irreducible representation. We get it from the gamma sigma, which we have reduced by using the standard reduction formula. Now how do we correlate this irreducible representation to the character table? Let us watch. There are two A1 prime representations, one A2 double prime representation and one E prime representation. These are the representations which will provide us some idea about the hybridization of this particular geometry and the types of bonds that are involved in it. Since there are 5 bonds involved, 5 hybrid orbitals must be involved. Which orbital is involved can be seen from the character table. There are 2 orbitals with A1 prime symmetry. So what are the 2 orbitals with A1 prime symmetry? We can check in the linear and quadratic functions. Cubic functions are not required because they represent the F orbitals. So when we are looking at the linear functions and the quadratic functions, around A1 prime there is absolutely no function, so no orbital is involved. But when it comes to the quadratic functions, there is a combination of x square, y square as well as z square, which represents an s orbital. So there are 2 A1 prime representations, out of which one is an s orbital. Here we can see z square, which will represent a dz square orbital. So the function z square can represent dz square. Therefore the 2 orbitals having A1 prime symmetry are s and dz square. Right. Let us come to A2 double prime. For A2 double prime, the only function that is present is z, which represents a pz orbital. Coming to E prime, there are 2 functions. One is a linear, the another one is a quadratic function. In the linear function, we have a set called as x and y. So that set will represent px and py. It is a degenerate set, therefore it is falling under E. Also there is another set of d orbitals, x square minus y square and xy. They represent dx square minus y square and dxy. Right. So one of these will participate in the hybridization and the bonding. That is anyway not the issue. For us, what we have to check is, altogether there are 5 d orbitals, and out of these 5 d orbitals, what we are able to find here is dz square can participate in the bonding, dx square minus y square and even dxy can participate in the bonding. Now this is leaving xz as well as yz. So xz and yz do not participate in sigma bonding. They are available for pi bonding. But the question is related to sigma bonding only. It means the ligands that are involved, they are not pi bonding ligands, they are only sigma bonding ligands. So the answer must be dxz and dyz are non-bonding. Since dz square, dx square minus y square and dxy can participate in bonding, xz and yz must be non-bonding. So here we can see the option second must be the answer. dxz and dyz are non-bonding. And how did we get it? We have used the character tables. Later on we have taken the 5 sigma bonds. We have derived a reducible representation. From this reducible representation, using standard reduction formula, we have derived irreducible representations. And once we got irreducible representations, we have seen what are the d orbitals that are involved, which is finally leaving dxz and dyz that will remain non-bonding. This is one approach. Well, the another approach is, if at all you can remember the molecular orbital energy level diagram for a trigonal bipyramidal geometry. Here we can very clearly see that these are the metal orbitals. Well, I'll choose, okay. These are the metal orbitals, whereas these are the ligand orbitals. Now within these 5 d orbitals, one orbital has A1 prime, the other two has E prime, and the third one has E double prime symmetry. E double prime symmetry, here it can be seen, E double prime symmetry, they are non-bonding. Whereas the two orbitals having E prime and A1 prime symmetry, they are participate in bonding. So even from the molecular orbital energy level diagram, we can conclude that E double prime is the set of d orbitals that do not participate in bonding, therefore they are non-bonding. And which are these d orbitals? That can be found from the character table.